All right, so this is a quiz review for Unit 8, days 1 through 3. So, number 1, this was what we started with, introducing what the idea of a polynomial is. And then if it is, so notice, please read the instructions. If it is, so if you say yes here, then determine the degree, the leading coefficient, and the constant term. So on question A, if you look at this and you're thinking, well, I don't really know what to do here because this is not multiplied out, you could go ahead and FOIL, and you would get 2x times x to the 5 halves. At this point, even if you remember how to do this, you're going to notice that this has a fraction right here. So therefore, this is not, that was one of the rules, is you can't have a fraction here. So this is a no, this is not a polynomial. So we're not going to answer these questions, okay? The second one, x plus root 2 squared. So on this question, this is again, really and truly, you should probably go ahead and FOIL this in order to tell just for sure exactly what it's going to be. So x times x is x squared. X times root 2 is plus root 2x. And root 2 times x is another plus root 2x. And then root 2 times root 2, that's the square root of 4, which is regular 2. Okay, and then this makes 2 root 2's of x. So x squared plus 2 square root 2 of x, and then plus 2. So this is my polynomial, or my function. Now I need to answer, is it a polynomial? So the rules were no fractions as exponents, so that's okay. X cannot be in the denominator. There's not even a denominator shown here. And then the last rule is x cannot be under a radical. So if this is the one that you're wondering about, right here, is x technically under the radical? This radical ends where the root 2 stops. It's only root 2 that has the radical. So therefore, this is all satisfied. Our degree. Degree is the highest exponent you see. So that's a 2. Leading coefficient is using where that 2 is located. What is the coefficient right there? So that's right here, and there's a 1 there. And then the constant term, that's the number all by itself. So that's a 2. Okay. All right. Number 2, find the solutions of the given polynomial by factoring and setting the factors equal to 0. So this is good because it's practicing both factoring and getting the answers. Okay. So just to let you know, on the quiz, I'm not going to tell me how many solutions, or not going to tell you how many solutions there should be. I just wanted this to be on there so that if you were working on it at home alone, you would know that you finished. All right. When we factor, always start with a GCF. Well, there's not a GCF here. So step 2, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we're going to start by grouping. So we have 4x squared, and then x plus 2 minus 1, x plus 2. 4x squared minus 1, x plus 2. Now this is an excellent question because you cannot stop until you know for sure that you're done. If you have a degree of 2, that kind of indicates to you you may not be done. So let's look at this term because it has a degree of 2. So 4x squared minus 1, can that factor anymore? So it's only 2 terms. So when you have 2 terms, you're either thinking about squares or cubes. And if we think about the number 4, that's a perfect square. Plus I see that square right there. So that indicates to me this is difference of squares. 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, and then x plus 2. So I get the answers. 2x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 and divide by 2. So x equals negative 1/2. That was from this guy. Now do the same idea for 2x minus 1. So I'll do that one in black. 2x minus 1 equals 0. Add 1. Divide by 2. So x equals positive half. And then lastly, x plus 2 equals 0. X equals negative 2. So these are your 3 solutions. Okay? All right, the next one. 27x cubed plus 8. So, look for a GCF. There's not one. Then, I say, okay, this has 2 terms. For 2 terms, it's either squares or cubes. And I do see a cubed here, so that indicates to me it's probably a cube. And hopefully by now you've done 27 enough that you remember that perfect cube and 8 as well. So let's just write this. The cube root of 27x cubed is 3x. And then the cube root of 8 is 2. Okay, so let's set up our binomial and our trinomial. SOAP tells me same sign, so it's a plus sign here. So plus sign, minus sign, always plus. All right, the symmetry. First thing, second thing. First thing squared, first times second, second thing squared. 3x, that's the first thing, and then 2 is the second thing. So first thing, 3x. Second thing, 2. First thing squared. So make sure you put 3x squared. Here, first times second. So 3x times 2. And then here, second thing squared. All right. Now, let's simplify this. So 3x plus 2, this does not simplify, so I'm just going to write 3x plus 2 again. But here, I will simplify this. This makes 9x squared this makes 6x so minus 6x, and this makes 4 plus 4. Okay, so if I asked you to factor, this would be the answer in factored form. So there are going to be questions that just say factor, and that's it. So you would circle this answer, be done. But this one asked us to find the solutions. So the solutions are coming from those fully factored terms. So in this case, it's that 3x plus 2. Remember I said in class, this resulting 1, 2, 3 trinomial will never factor. Therefore, this will not give us real solutions. It's guaranteed to happen whenever you apply the cube rule. Okay, so that's why I don't even look at that and see if I can go on. It's guaranteed not to be able to go on. But this guy does give me a factor, or a solution, I should say. So 3x plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 and divide by 3. So x equals negative 2/3. All right. Find the remainder and determine whether h of x is a factor of f of x. So this is what we learned on 8.3 or today in class. So the shortcut, if we use the remainder theorem that was kind of just like our shortcut, is I'm going to plug in, using my function, I'm going to plug in the divisor, but not really the divisor. Remember that we have to set the divisor equal to 0, so we're going to use -1 here. So what that means is that for my f of x function, I'm going to use f of x, and instead of x, I'm plugging in what x equals, which is -1. So that's coming from right here. All right, so I'm going to do x raised to the 5th, so -1 to the 5th plus 1. Well, -1 raised to the 5th power. When you do 1 to the 5th, it's just going to stay 1. So really the only question mark is what happens with the negative. Negative raised to odd powers is going to stay negative because you're going to have a negative or an odd number of negative signs. So this is going to stay right here. It's going to stay as -1. And then I still have to add 1 to that, plus 1. -1 plus 1 is equal to 0. So this is the remainder. If you had done synthetic division instead of the shortcut, you would have gotten a remainder of 0. Therefore, answer this part of the question, is it a factor? Well, when you get a remainder of 0, then we know, yes, it is a factor. Okay, it's really kind of asking you both questions. It's asking you what is the remainder, and then we use that information to determine if it's a factor. So go ahead and make sure you answer both parts of the question. So if you want to pause the video and see if you can do 4, 5, and 6, you can go ahead and do that. All right, number 4, I'm going to plug in -2. So f evaluated at -2. Remember not to do x plus 2, but it set it equal to 0, so you're going to use -2. So -2 raised to the 3rd power minus 3 times -2 squared minus 4 times -2 minus 12. All right, this makes -8. It is negative. This makes positive 4, so minus 3 times positive 4, minus 4 times -2, minus 12. And you might be doing more math at the same time. That's fine. Just make sure you're not skipping too many steps to lose negative signs. So do be careful with all those negative signs. All right, so now we've got -8. This makes minus 12. This makes positive 8. And this makes minus 12. So I see I've got a -8 plus an 8. Those will cancel each other out. And minus 12 actually makes minus 24. So the remainder to number 4 is -24. So here my remainder is -24. Therefore, no, this is not a solution. Okay? All right, let's do the next one. So I'm going to plug in positive 1. So 2 times 1 to the 4th plus 1 to the 3rd plus 1 minus 4. So I'm going to go a little bit faster. 1 to the 4th is 1 times 2. So this is 2 plus 1 minus 4. So 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, minus 4 is 0. So for number 5, my remainder is 0. So yes, it is a factor. Okay, and my last one, number 6. So I'm going to plug in -1, 2, negative 1 to the 98, plus 3, negative 1 to the 13, plus negative 1, plus 2. So this will make positive 1 times 2. Is 2. This will make negative 1 times 3 is minus 3. Minus 1 plus 2. So 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Minus 1 is negative 2. Add 2 is 0. So this one is another remainder equal to 0. So yes. All right, number 7 through 10, perform the indicated operation. So number 7 is a minus. You'll have to distribute that. Number 8 is distributing that. Number 9 is double distribution. Number 10 is division. So I'm going to distribute the negative sign. All right, so when I distribute that negative sign, it's minus 2x squared plus 6x minus 2. And I'll just rewrite these original things. So 8x cubed minus x squared plus 5. So if we combine some like terms here, this is the only cubed term I see, so I'll just write that, 8x cubed. Here I've got a minus x squared minus 2x squared, so that makes minus 3x squared. This is the only x term I see, so plus 6x. Here I've got positive 5 minus 2, which makes positive 3. All right, number 8, we're going to distribute this guy in. So we end up with negative 8, x to the 8. Negative 2 times negative 5 makes positive 10, x to the 5. Negative 2 times 1, so minus 2x squared. Okay, there's really nothing to do there, so we'll just circle that. Number 9. So this is double distribution. I'll do x squared to all of these guys, and then I'll do the other part, the minus 5. So x squared times x cubed is x to the 5th minus 4x to the 3rd plus 6x squared. Now do this one, minus 5 times x cubed is minus 5x cubed plus 20x minus 30. So for a final answer, it looks like the only combination would be these two guys. So x to the 5th minus 9x cubed plus 6x squared plus 20x minus 30. All right, number 10, this is a division. So this question is actually asking you to divide. So I want the answer, not the remainder, the full answer. So you can choose synthetic or long in this case. So let's practice synthetic because I know later on I have to do long. So negative 1, make sure you insert, look at this, this goes from degree of 3 to degree of 1. So you're going to have to insert a 0x squared here. So I'm going to put in 1, 0, 2, and negative 8. Bring down the 1. So negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. This makes minus 1. This makes positive 1. This makes 3. This makes negative 3. Remainder, negative 11. R for remainder, number, x, and x squared. So my answer is x squared minus x plus 3 plus negative 11 over x plus 1. So this is the answer. When it actually asks you to fully divide, that's what the answer is. Okay? All right, number 11. So this is why I went ahead and did synthetic division on the other one, is because number 11, you cannot use synthetic division because your divisor is a squared term. So you do not have that choice here. So I'm going to insert some zeros. Make sure you're doing that as well. X squared plus 0x plus 2 is on the outside. 5x to the 4th plus 11x cubed plus 2x squared plus 0x minus 4. All right, so what goes here such that it multiplies x squared to get 5x to the 4th. So that's going to be 5x squared. So that makes 5x to the 4th plus 0x cubed plus 10x squared. Parenthesize, subtract. So one of the things we started doing in class is actually distributing that negative sign in. If that's something that helped you, by all means do that. So I'm going to put minus 5x to the 4th minus 0x cubed minus 10x squared. If you take that step, make sure you just kind of cross off this. And now you're going to do 5x to the 4th minus 5x to the 4th. That, of course, goes away. That's supposed to happen. 11x cubed minus 0x cubed. So 11 minus 0 is 11. And 2 minus 10 is negative 8x squared. Bring down the 0x. All right, repeat your process. So what times x squared is 11x cubed. So we need the 11. We also need another x. So plus 11x. So that makes 11x cubed plus 0x squared plus 22x. Parenthesize, subtract. I am going to distribute that, so minus 11x cubed minus 0x squared minus 22x. So 11 minus 11 goes away. Negative 8 minus 0 makes negative 8. And 0 minus 22 makes minus 22. Bring down minus 4. All right, so now I've got minus 8 here. Almost done. Negative 8 times x squared is negative 8x squared. Negative 8 times 0x is 0x. If you want to write minus 0x, because that's minus, really adding or subtracting 0 doesn't matter. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. Parenthesize, subtract. So that makes positive 8x squared plus 0x plus 16. All right, so negative 8 plus 8 goes away. Negative 22 plus 0, so this is my remainder because there's nothing left to do. It's negative 22x, and then negative 4 plus 16 is positive 12. So this is my remainder. So my full answer is 5x squared plus 11x minus 8 plus negative 22x plus 12 over x squared plus 2. All right, almost done. Write a polynomial of degree 4 with the zeros 2, negative 3, and 1. There are 3 different options. Write all 3 and leave it in polynomial. Leave the polynomial in factored form. So if you have a degree of 2, that means x equals 2. Degree of negative 3 and a degree of 1. So think about how you get this factor. Well, this factor comes from, or this solution comes from the factor x minus 2. This one comes from x plus 3, and this one comes from x minus 1. Now, make sure you answer all the parts of the question. This is satisfying the zeros, but now I also want to satisfy a degree of 4. This would only be x times x times x would only be a degree of 3. So that's why it's telling you there's 3 options, is because you can't, this isn't the correct answer. This would only be a degree of 3. We need a degree of 4. So one of these guys needs to be squared. And if it doesn't tell you which one, you just kind of got to say, well, there's 3 different ways that this could be satisfied. It could be such that this guy was squared. And that would tell you that 2 is a double solution. But it doesn't tell us that, so we just have to say this might be the answer. Or that middle one might have been squared. So this might be the answer. And then the last option is that last one might have been squared. Okay? And that's it for the quiz review.